Carl Paladino is chairman of the Elliott Development Company, which he founded in 1973, and a lifelong advocate of the city of Buffalo. And boy, has he made the point about loving his town. Best known for championing strategic ideas and has brought new life to the city and region. As a successful and experienced businessman, forever loyal to the city of Buffalo and its wings, I might add, Carl is frequently sought out to share his leadership and expertise with many organizations. In 1991, Carl was honored by the city of Buffalo as Buffalonian of the Year. In 1993, as Alumnus of the Year by St. Bonaventure University, and in 2008, the Business First Lifetime Achievement Award. This is the quote that's important to me. He said, "We're so sick of the pundits on TV. We just turn off the TV." Carl, as a radio broadcaster of 30 years, thank you. A lifelong resident of the city of Buffalo, Carl is honored to be married to Mary Catherine Hannon and is blessed with 4 children and 5 grandchildren. But today, he's stuck with us. Carl Paladino!
All right, everybody, please stand up. Everybody, please stand up. Shake it off. Shake it off. Okay? Come on, shake it off. You good? All right. John, you behave yourself, John, or I'm going to get Mrs. Antone after you. A number of years ago, I met a guy. My wife loves him. My kids love him. My dog loves him. His name is John Haggerty. He's been my advisor since my 2010 campaign. He's been a wonderful friend. He's had some very unusual times. He said to me one time, "I don't know what we're going to do, Carl. Our Queens Republican Party is so corrupted and upside down." He says it's blinding. And I said, "John, what are you going to do about it?" He said, "Oh, we got the guy. He's honest as the day is long." His name is Bob Turner. Bob had a run, but I had to say that because I've known Bob for a number of years now, and I think you are so lucky to have this man. He personifies integrity and character. He's a wonderful guy. I've also come to know another guy that John introduced me to, who I think has the same characteristics. He's 31 years old. His name is Eric Ulrich. I think Eric, where are you, Eric? I think Eric is going to be the next mayor of New York City. He's going to break all those records. You seem to send out to us elsewhere in the state very good people. And I could see, sitting here today, the family that you have assumed here. And I think it's wonderful. I prepared a lot of notes. I'm not going to get into that stuff. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the Second American Revolution and how lucky we are today to be witnessing what will be a couple years from now, one of the greatest changes in our history of America. It has nothing to do with all these candidates running and Hillary and Sanders and all this jive about this issue or that issue. It has to do about you. It's about you. It's about us. It's about the people recognizing that where we've been for the last 50 years is not where we want to be next year or any time in the future. Freedom. Where's it gone? Opportunity. You feel free? Do you feel like you have opportunity? Do you feel like you're in control of your own destiny? You know, your kids, they need guidance. That's what parenting is about. When all of us were young kids, our parents could tell us that if we did this, this, and this, we'd have successful lives. We'd have opportunity. We'd enjoy the freedoms of America, the mightiest country in the world. We'd have that. And the question is, can any of you today say that you can tell your kids the same thing? Can you tell your kids where our country's going to be a year from now? Can you tell your kids anything about the future and the problems and the situations that they're going to encounter? You can't. You just can't. Whether you call it an establishment, you call it a cabal, you call it the elitist media, together with the power brokers in Washington, together with who? The giants of business? You know why the media is so upset right now. They're so disoriented, they're so disrupted. Because they can't figure it out anymore. They can't tell you what to think anymore. They can't tell you how to act anymore. They can't tell you that you can't say Merry Christmas anymore. Because you can say Merry Christmas. That's a freedom. You can't tell me anymore that I have to be politically correct. I don't care. Prosperity. How about this one? Hope. Hope. Remember that feeling of hope? Remember your younger years? You looked at the President of the United States and you respected him. You had respect for the office, no matter what the guy was. No matter what his political persuasion was. You respected the office. And what do we have today? In the last couple of days, sources in the government have disclosed that sitting on 9/11, when Benghazi was under attack, or when our consulate was under attack, sitting in Tripoli, a 20-minute air flight from Benghazi, was an AC-130U. They call it a Spooky. It's an American cargo plane that has Gatling guns on it that are directed by lasers. And you remember reading the stories that those operators, those CIA guys that were on the ground, were lasering the targets, the mortars that eventually killed 4 guys. Or I think 3 of the 4. That AC-130 was 20 minutes away, and there was a team of special forces there with them. And the article goes on to say that the stand-down order was given by none other than Valerie Jarrett, a woman born and raised in Iran, a woman who was the closest advisor to Obama and talks for him, acts for him, and in this case, ordered a stand down of the United States military, allowing 4 of our guys to go down. We have never left a military man on the ground. I think Chris will back me up on this. You would never even dream of leaving a man on the ground in our military today. What has our government become? What has that office become? Wants to talk about global warming? Guantanamo? Where's the press directing our heads? We're talking about a man becoming a woman? What the heck is going on? What is going on? They've conditioned our minds. And they've gone so far and abused us so much that we're waking up. We're waking up. We can see a light at the end of that tunnel. I gotta get these words right. Ed Burke. The only thing necessary for evil to triumph is for good men to do nothing. Such profound words. That's what we've been doing. Nothing. Our good, strong men that we look at as leaders have turned out to be wimps. McConnell, the majority leader of the Senate, bold enough, so bold. I hate this when I gotta find something. So bold as to basically say that Donald Trump is dead on arrival with the United States Senate if he's elected. How about that? An American leader saying that he'll make sure the Senate and the Republican establishment does not work with the new President of the United States if Donald Trump is elected. They're that desperate? It's that bad for them? Of course it is. Because we've been awakened. Where there's no end to this. It has nothing to do with silliness and foibles and issues and crassness. I love when he says, he said about Rubio, he said, this man sweats. It's like he's spinning. He's spinning until he puts the idea together. What he has is every leadership quality that you would want to see in our presidency. And the American people know that. He may not be right on this issue or that issue or in sync with everybody, and you can't make everybody happy all the time. But that's what we see. That's that light at the end of the tunnel. The movement is in play right now, and it's crossing this nation, and people are waking up one at a time, and they're going to do it. I'm not here to propagate Donald Trump. I'm here to talk about what good is coming of all this, because one man is making a tremendous difference. One man has come in to take that leadership role and to bring this country to a better place. So I think I'm obliged to tell you a story. It goes back a couple of years into 2013. They were making a decision on who to run for governor in 2014. And Ed Cox, in all his wisdom, decided he's going to give us Astorino. Apparently, and what I found out since, that the establishment down in Washington could see Trump coming down the road looking to be president of the United States. Apparently he had been talking to people. So a word was sent to Ed Cox, who his dream is to become an ambassador, to shut Trump down. So Trump apparently was talking to people about this issue. 35 upstate leaders, county chairs and others, went to his office and pleaded with him and said, look, you've got the name recognition, you've got $50 million, all right? You could take Cuomo and you could wipe the desk off with him, okay? I mean, they were determined. And he said, you know, he says, I really appreciate all you guys coming here. And this was told to me. He says, I'm going to consider this. He says, there's a guy I have to talk to first, though, and you guys could probably help me. Can you ask Paladino to come down to New York? So I went down to New York. I sat at a table with him at dinner. I remember the night vividly because I was having a kidney stone at the time.
Whoa.
And I couldn't eat. But I sat next to him and we sort of huddled. And he talked about my campaign and what he had heard and what he had seen me doing. And he says, Carl, he says, I want to be president of the United States. He says, I don't know about this governorship thing. And I said, Don, listen, first, before any of this stuff, tell me why you want to be president of the United States. And he said, well, look at me. I've had all the success any man could ever want. I've done it my way. I've done it the best I can. I've got proven talents. I'm also a tough guy. I'm a tough guy and I'm very resilient and I'm not afraid. I don't fear anything. He said, but the most important thing for me is I want to help this nation. This nation that was so good to me. This isn't a speech up on a stage, okay, up on a roster. This is man to man. And he says, you know, my dad and mom, they got me started. And it wasn't easy for them. They had a tough life. And yes, I did inherit money. But I want to honor my mother and father. I want to do it in their memory. And I want my kids to be proud of me. And I want the American people to be proud of me because I can do this. That's what he said to me that day. And then a whole bunch of things happened. And he finally made up his mind he'll run if Cox arranges for him to have a clear sailing and no primary. Why did he want that? Because he just thought it was so unnecessary. He really, you could see how he campaigns. I mean, he sucks up all the oxygen in a room. Why does he need to go through a primary? Well, Cox had put Astorino up. And finally, I had invited him and Astorino, to go to Albany to a gun rally. I had 10,000 people were going to be there, all in flannel shirts and jeans. I called them up a couple days before. I said, Don, wear flannel shirts or flannel shirt and jeans, so you fit in with this crowd. I said you could start a new line of clothing or something, okay? but you'll look better then. He said, I don't know if I could do that, Carl. And I said, well, you think about it, but really, come on. You could certainly wear flannel shirt and jeans. So I go to pick him up at Albany Airport. He gets off the helicopter and he's got his uniform on, just like you see him, that blue suit and the bouffant hairdo and all that stuff. And here he comes walking to me and he's smiling. He says, how do you like my jeans? So we're driving to the airport. And I said, Don, I said, Cox is not going to give you a clear sailing. Astorino is acting like a jerk, okay? Astorino's got no money. All he has is dreams, because Cox drilled into his head that he's going to win this thing. And I know what it's like to run for governor in New York. And he's not going to win. I said, I need you to give me permission to go to him after this rally and lay out to him a plan whereby you would be the president, you would run for governor, and he would run for lieutenant governor with you. And after a year, after you just served a year and did what you had to do to get things cleaned up in that cesspool they call Albany, then he would take over. You have 3 years to make his name, and we'd have a Republican governor. I said, boy, that makes a lot of sense. He looked at me and he says, do it. After the gun rally, I took Astorino out to the parking lot, and I laid it on him. He looked at me in my eye with the glazed over look, and he says, Carl, I'm going to win this thing. Cox is going to raise all this money for me. He's going to go to John Catsimatidis and get a lot of money for me. I'm going to win. Then you know the rest of the story. He goes and picks the lousiest issue that nobody understands, the core curriculum. That's his lead issue, which upstaters they couldn't understand it. Nobody could understand it anywhere, okay? And they were waiting for him to talk about the SAFE Act. And he never really got around to it. And he went over like a lead balloon. And because of Cox and Astorino, we have Cuomo for another 4 years. We have this maniac that wants to go and spend $250 million to get $250 million to advertise nationally that New York is business friendly. Did you notice that he came out last week with his family leave thing? 3 months. An employee could come in to you and say, I gotta go, my mind is crazy. I gotta get out of here for 3 months. You're gonna have to pay me, so goodbye. Oh, that's really business friendly. Okay. How about if 10 of them ask you at the same time? What are you supposed to do then? Honesty. Intelligence. Common sense. Where have they brought us? I'm emailing the other night with Karl Rove. I said, the fat lady is singing. That's just a phrase. I don't mean to insult anybody. The fat lady is singing. That means it's over. He writes back and says, 83 out of 2,400, I don't think so. In other words, he's telling me it's not over till it's over. So I write him back and I said, Yogi Berra was talking about baseball. He's not talking about politics. It's over. And I gave him a warning. I told him, if you try to jury rig this convention, if you play games, and if it's not a fair convention, if it's going to be brokered, fine, as long as it's fair. But if you fool around with it, I'll lead the charge. I'll carry the flag. We'll put this party out of its misery. We'll put those leaders out of their misery. Republican Party is changing. A close friend of mine in the, I'll call it the Special Services of Government, that you can imagine what the 3-letter acronym is, wrote a piece because he heads up a congressional committee that deals with Chinese and American trade relations. He wrote up this piece, and basically he says, it's absolutely astounding how our leaders have given America away to these Chinese. There's a $500 billion a year trade deficit with China. If you tax, you put a tariff on the Chinese, you could escalate it, you could do all kinds of things with it. But if you do that, you could take in, over a period of time, X number of dollars, close to $1 trillion. And you can use that to rebuild the infrastructure of America. I'm giving you a little bit of a clue of the way Donald Trump is going to be handling Hillary in the final here. The way Donald Trump is going to take from Hillary all the trade unions, the Teamsters, the iron workers, the auto workers. He's going to take them all out of the Democratic Party this year. He's going to bring them home to the Republican Party where they belong. Because right now they can't figure out, they are clueless. And if Rove and McConnell want to threaten that they're going to lead an insurrection if and not allow him to be president or not cooperate with him afterwards, goodbye. Who cares? Go ahead, fellas. You'll only be around for a short period of time after that in any event. The clowns of politics, like the clowns of God, okay, were fools. They've been there too long. They got fat. They got ugly. They don't know what necessarily, they don't have their feet on the ground anymore. It's only this generation that's going to lead us to a better place. They have to go. They've did their thing. They've led our country into since 2008, into an abysmal performance. Yes, everything was screwed up in 2008, but in 2012, you gave us Romney, a man with offshore accounts, a man that's telling us side with the 1% against 99%. Come on. He was going nowhere. He's an idiot. They hold him out as though he meant something, okay, when he comes out and demands Trump's tax returns. Nonsense. By the way, I'll tell you one other thing that I see.
Okay, thank you.
When I told you about Benghazi, that's the connection. That's why everybody's sitting there waiting for Comey to come around with his charges and charge Hillary with the email scandal and breaching security and all the rest of that stuff. And we're waiting as though it's actually going to happen. It's not going to happen. I doubt sincerely that it's going to happen. Why? Have you noticed how she chums up with him right now? She's chumming right up. She's making sure that he knows that she's not going to open her mouth. Because if that story ever got out on how they shut down Benghazi, if that story ever got out to the American people, the Democratic Party, Valerie Jarrett, Obama, Hillary, and all the rest of these clowns would be looking for another country to live in. Because the American people aren't going to take it anymore. We're not going to degrade our military. We're not going to be defenseless. We're not going to be performing funding a country that we know funds the terrorists. We're funding them. We just gave them $100 billion. What is wrong with us? Why is this man still the president of the United States? I'm a street guy. I know the streets. I know how people feel. I live in a neighborhood that's 80% Democrat, South Buffalo. I get around the neighborhood. I'll tell you right now, the Democrats and the independents in this working man's neighborhood are blue-collar, white-collar people. And just like all of you, those people are going to vote for Donald Trump for president. That's reality. So to those that are still sitting on the fence, I say get on the bus. And thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak.